Hi everyone, this is Jill from the North Woods. This was a rough day. I didn't know if we were going to get to having a live show, so I'm glad if you're there that we are having it. And I hope you comment, and I want this to be interactive. And if you have good ideas or you disagree or you have questions,
Hi everyone,
please.
this is Jill from the North Woods. This was a rough day. I didn't know if we were going to get to having a live show, so I'm glad if you're there.
Apparently, if you're on YouTube, while you're going on YouTube, it just broadcasts it right on YouTube. And then so maybe we get into a whole parallel thing. So essentially, we're going to talk about how it's been going. So today I took my brand new dose, which is 12.5. And this was a long time in coming. My doctor wanted to see me before I went on a higher dose. We talked it over. He was so impressed with the 70 pounds of weight loss, and he talked about how all my stats are healthy. I had blood labs, good blood pressure, good cholesterol, good glucose, 4.9 or 4.6, I forget, but good glucose, and everything's great. He's like, you could stop here. You are healthy. And I'm just sort of summarizing the debate. I'm not going to do the whole thing again. And just be happy with where you're at and stabilize, because the most important thing is you stay where you're at, that you don't gain the weight back. And I said, it's true that I am healthy. The Dexasan guy said at 138, I will lose the dangerous visceral fat amount. And so I was planning on going down to 125 to 138, which is 30 to 40 pounds from now. And I said, stat wise, you're right, healthy. But the impact I'm putting on all my joints, not so healthy. And I was prepared to decide to stay on this drug forever if it was going to do other side effects for me forever. For example, the ADHD, which came roaring back. So we negotiated. We're going to try another round of dose, and then we're going to talk again in a couple of months. And I'm hoping that each of the doses lasts about 23-ish pounds. That will put me pretty darn close to being within my goal weight, and then I'll just be like the whole rest of the world where you had 10 pounds to lose. So that was, where we kind of left off. So that's where we're at. But I wanted to show you, and you can see it up here on the screen, that before all of this happened, I was losing a pretty solid 1.4 pounds per week. And that has been the solid average of every month. You can tell that really it wasn't so bad. In the whole scheme of things, it wasn't nice and even like it was with Mounjaro being effective, but in the end, it was about 1 pound a week. So I still continued to lose weight. I was a little afraid of going full bore into going back and eating normally, that I held to exactly where my diet was. So this drug is effective. It is helping me lose weight. And so I took the shot. I was a little worried that because I had gone so long, so this dose had been since February 10.0, and 10.0 when I switched from 7.5 hit me like a truck. I did not feel well. And so I was a little worried that after going all this amount of time on this other dose that was no longer working for me, that this was going to be bad side effects. And it turned out it was really just normal side effects. I felt nauseous for the first 2 hours, which is exactly what it did. I talked about the weird side effect that when anything that I ever injured in my body ever starts to ache again for like 2 hours. So, I killed my ankles in my ankles, and both my ankles, they kind of ached a little bit. My feet kind of ached a little bit. I kind of messed up my shoulder back at Christmas time. That ached a little bit, but honestly it wasn't bad. And then, I'm still kind of a little bit nauseous, which is a little longer than 2 hours from now, but nothing horrible. And so I was really glad about that. And so now I'm interested in the weight loss. This is kind of a good experiment in my mind, because there's another person on YouTube who rushed up in dose very quickly, and she's not ashamed of it. She said, I wanted to do this because it was more effective, and I wanted to drop as much weight as humanly possible as fast as I could, while my doctor recommended to me I take each dose as slowly as I could. And so I did, and I did take those doses very slowly, and I've spread them out. I still have, so I'm 40-ish pounds to go. I still have 2 doses left. I will lose the full amount of weight well within the doses I have left if I wish to do that. And what her opinion of it is she says, well, the drug really stops working at week 60. And I got a theory. Her theory is it stops working at week 60. I think she just ran up in dose and it stopped working for her at week 60 because she doesn't have the next dose to go to. So I'm at week 60 now. So we're going to see, does a fresh dose at week 60 still continue to work? Or is she right? She's not just her. There are other people on the internet who say that this drug stops working after 60 weeks. And I kind of think that my doctor was sort of hinting at that because he said, well, I just don't want you to be disappointed if you don't lose any additional weight. That's interesting. So is he on that side, that he thinks that essentially you lose a certain amount of weight within a certain period of time and it stops working? We are about to find out for sure. So anyway, you can kind of see how sort of rocky and up and down this weight loss has been, but in the end, it wasn't terrible. And makes me think too that if I decide to end taking Mounjaro at the end of this dose, in maybe 13, 14 weeks from now, and I lose, like I said, another 30, 40 pounds, or more like 30 out of this, and I'm just X pounds away, I kind of think that maybe on my own I could lose it. We don't know exactly how much, even though the dose wasn't working like it used to work, is it still doing something? Is it still modulating my sugar intake, right? Because my sugar intake was good. Is that because I am now a healthy human being? I've weight trained and built myself back up and I'm good. Now everything's great and everything's working the way it's supposed to be. Or is it really doing something, just not to the degree that it used to do something? So again, we'll find out and we'll see how it goes. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I'm also interested in the ADHD. How long does that take? So I still could feel it a little bit today, even after I took the drug, but we'll find out. Is it a instant thing? Like tomorrow, am I gonna go back and lose the ADHD stuff? But I am just ever grateful for this experience, for me to see how much ADHD was out there. And it wasn't so bad. It's me missing exits when I'm driving on a car. It's, I tell you what, like I edit podcasts, right? I record, like 7 podcasts a week and on video too. And sometimes I play them back, right? So I'm playing them back and I'm listening to make sure that I didn't flub up too much and I need to make an edit in there. And sometimes I just walk away and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm editing something. I got stay right here. So those types of things. I don't have ADHD so bad that it's detrimental. I still can work and I have a lot of guardrails around it. And so, like I said, I found this last 3 months of where Mounjaro really wasn't working to be invaluable. It showed me how much was me, how much was the drug. It showed me what came back, what didn't come back, and things like being addicted to Diet Coke never came back. So I feel pretty positive about that in this future. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the screen. But like I said, you can kind of see that it was rocky up and down, but overall still losing weight. I have gone into a different pant size now, and so I think that we are getting pretty close to, well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I've never been that size. I've been asking people rudely, what size pants do you wear? And, like, am I going to get to be a size 6? Am I going to be a size 8? I don't know. We'll see about that. So it's now fall here. It's been very cold. We're supposed to have a very cold winter. And so now I'm feeling all wintry and everything else like that. I wanted to talk a little bit today about how we can go out and eat successfully. And this is actually a topic I'm pretty good at because I used to work for a software company. And at some point, a lot of our customers wanted to rent me out. So we started, me as a contractor, going out to customers who were having some kind of an issue and having me help them out. So I'd work for this hospital for a few months and that hospital for a few months. And I worked for Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills for 2 years. And that's how I got the job that I have now, which was that I was a contractor from the software company to this hospital. And I had to eat out all the time. I traveled 25%. And at some point, I just ballooned up in weight. I mean, I'll be outright honest with you. When I screwed up my ankles and I couldn't exercise, I could barely walk anymore, and then I was traveling and I was feeling all sorry for myself, I ballooned back from basically a little bit more than the weight I am right now, all the way back up to the top again. And then the pandemic came around, and then I'm like, oh no, I should lose weight, and then I started losing weight again. But I started losing weight before that. And I had to learn how to eat out and how to travel without sort of dooming myself. Now, the good thing about Mounjaro is that it seems to be pretty resilient when it comes to weight loss, just in general. I still lose weight if I have an ice cream cone. And even when I was not on a working dose of Mounjaro, I only had really 3 treats this entire time. I had 1 root beer float and 2 bowls of popcorn. And that was it, but I made sure I had protein, and it was smaller bowls of popcorn because I just can't eat. I could eat about half of what I used to eat. So, but I learned while eating out how I can do okay, because I just told myself, you cannot keep putting on weight like you are just because you travel 25% for work. So we're going to talk a little bit about some ideas for restaurants. Like I said, if you're on Mounjaro is pretty forgiving, and usually you can eat a little bit more and you don't pay a price the same way you did if you were just regular dieting. It, keeps you fuller. It does all the things that helps us lose weight, keeps our blood sugar in place. And so we're going to talk about some of it, about how you can, lose weight and keep going with that. So the first thing about it is that when you're losing weight, sorry, I lost my notes here. I got notes up there. When you're losing weight, it's oh dear, hold on. It's easy, like if you go out to eat. And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't like about Mounjaro, just in general, is this idea that it is hard to have a social life, to be out there with friends doing fun things. And it's hard because if you're not really, I'm just going to switch my notes over here to this other screen. Just 1 second. Because all right, enough screwing around with this. So essentially, people feel this loss of social engagement, that they used to go out, they used to have fun with their friends, and now they don't feel like eating out. They don't feel like going out maybe to clubs or to party places with their friends anymore, because the drug kind of takes it away. It gives some people ahedonia, which means that they just don't have joy in life. And so then they feel like, not only am I losing weight, which is great, but now I'm not having interactive time with my friends. And so, how can we do this? And I told my friend at the beginning of this, when I was, when I told her I was going on this drug, and she said the quote, "Has it come to this?" And I think that and I told her because it affects her too. We go out hiking, and then we go bird watching, and we go out to lunch, and it's been a big social thing for us. Or on cold, snowy days, we go find a bookstore in the middle of the North Woods and go have a really nice meal. And it was going to affect her too. So the question was, is this going to be something that we can still do? And I told her, I said, I'll find a way. I'll find a way we can still go out to eat and still have fun, but yet, stick to this, because I'm gutting down on this weight diet, weight loss, healthy living, exercise, because we're going to take this weight off, and then we're going to figure out what to do about this drug later. So it might seem counterintuitive, but one of the things that you can do before you go out and eat is you can have a yogurt, a protein drink, some nuts or something like that, so that you don't go to the restaurant really hungry. That you can do that before you go to the restaurant and prepare ahead of time so you know exactly what it is that you're going to eat, how you're planning to eat, and what do they even have on this menu? Yep, good. All right. I want to make sure we were still recording. What do they even have on the menu? So, the other thing you can do ahead of time when you're planning to go to a restaurant is look at the menu ahead of time and decide ahead of time before you're in the frenzy of eating out. What are you going to eat? Because chances are you will make better decisions about what you're going to eat when you are like before time, before you're, like I said, not there. And so you can say, okay, this restaurant has this and this. And I did that for the conference when I was speaking at the conference that I do every July. I looked at that restaurant. I picked out something that I was going to eat, and it was basically a meat and vegetable shish kebab. There was a little sauce on it, but there was nothing really horrible about it, and it was an appetizer plate, so it had no sides to it, and so that was pretty good. So I figured about that. Keep drinking water. Make sure that you don't drink your calories. If you drink calories, then in my mind, I'd rather eat calories than drink calories. That's always kind of been my MO. So I always make sure that I stuck with water. We used to stick with Diet Coke, that kind of thing. The other part of it, too, is that you can look at what kind of portions that you're having at the restaurant, right? So that you can sort of balance out a plate. Maybe there's a restaurant that my friend and I go to when we go bird watching. It's right in the middle of this kind of marshy area that I go hiking in. And it's an old-fashioned, like, farm-to-table restaurant known for its, like, cheese sandwiches and that. And at first I started getting the salad. And then I felt kind of like, well, this is not very much fun. And so I would try to think about what to do. And a couple of times, I actually just got an ice cream cup because I really just wanted ice cream, and that made me happy. And my friend was like, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. But what I found is they actually had either a soup and half sandwich or a salad and half sandwich. And so then I started doing that. That way I could have like a little tiny grilled cheese sandwich and a little bowl of soup too. And the soup was really good. So that was my compromise. The other thing I noticed is they had a children's menu. And on the children's menu, they had basically a half sandwich with like sliced up apples. And so instead of getting like the chips or something like that, which I wasn't really enjoying as much as I used to enjoy, I got that. And I really liked having that. So my friend and I still could go out to eat. We still could have fun. What I did at this conference what I did when I traveled for work is I would get appetizer plates. Many times restaurants will have the same types of foods that they have for main courses as appetizers. And I remember I went to a Mexican restaurant once and I ordered the appetizer quesadilla, but my coworker ordered the quesadilla and she gets this quesadilla and it has a ton of extra food with it and it's huge and she couldn't eat it and she brought it back to her hotel room. Meanwhile, I had a very manageable quesadilla that was meant for appetizers. So eating appetizers is kind of one of my big tricks that I like to do. But even so, if you're going to go to the restaurant, and the thing to know about restaurants is they are usually pretty good about making things that are off menu. It's no bother to the chef, really. So sometimes you can look and you'll see like there's some roasted vegetables with a hollandaise sauce on it. You could just say, I'd like to have the roasted vegetables without the hollandaise sauce, and they'll just they'll just keep it off and they won't put it on there, and so it'll save you a little bit of calories. Or if a grilled chicken breast has some sort of a cream sauce on it, you could also ask not to have it. You can also keep to lean protein, grilled chicken, fish, beans, those kinds of things. Again, keep the starchy grains towards brown rice and sweet potatoes and beans and that kind of thing. So you can eat healthy when you're going out to a restaurant. I always tried to stick to the highest protein thing I could find. That was the easiest thing to get around because I am a carb monster. I love a big pile of potatoes. I love a big pile of rice, and I found that if I could just find a protein I liked, I would eat that. And the other part of it too is that let's say that you found like a grilled chicken and it looks delicious and it has some vegetables on it. You can ask, could you just put a very small portion of rice on there, not the full portion? Or could you not even put the rice on there at all? You can ask for things that are not on the menu. Tell people whatever it is that you need to tell people, but you can say, I would rather just have the grilled chicken if that's okay. Or I noticed that it comes with rice. Could I just have a side of black beans with it? That'd be great. Thank you. And mostly they figure it out and they'll say something like, well, we're going to charge you for the regular plate. Is that, and then that's okay. But the other part of it is that you can oftentimes ask for something that is not an appetizer and say, is it possible that you could give me an appetizer size of this grilled chicken and nothing else there? And they oftentimes will without making much of a stink about it. So part of it is that you want to kind of control it. And like I said, most restaurants are very happy to do this for you. I asked my friend that I go out to that restaurant with, I said, what's your advice for eating out, and trying to stay healthy? And she said, well, my advice to the whole thing is don't. If you are just going out every once in a while, just have fun. Just enjoy yourself. Enjoy the meal, have whatever you're going to have, and just enjoy yourself. And I thought, that's very smart, because if you're not someone who goes out very often, then what difference does it make if you just kind of have one day where you have kind of a big meal and enjoy yourself? And that's enjoyable to you. So part of it, I think, depends on how often you did this. I didn't do it because I was traveling 25%. That meant I was out Monday through Friday, maybe even a Sunday or a Saturday, and I would have to eat out every meal. Now, the truth of it is, after a while, I got so sick of eating out that I started going in an Uber to find a Trader Joe's. And I would buy much of what I eat here now. I eat pretty much what Trader Joe's has, but I would eat it in my hotel room. I could just, instead of paying $17 for a hotel yogurt, I could just get some yogurt. I could get some nuts. I had a microwave usually in most rooms. And so I got myself they had these chicken breast things. And so I just had them in my refrigerator. Now, if you put them in the refrigerator instead of the freezer, they're not going to last more than a week, but I'm not going to be there more than a week. So that's the other deep, dark secret is if you're traveling, you can go grocery shopping. When my friends and I go out to Rocky Mountain National Park, we rent an Airbnb, we go get groceries. If you know anything about Estes Park, there's not a lot of restaurants there. So what we do is we would eat breakfast and lunch at our Airbnb, and it would be very much the things we eat at home, whether it's cereal. My friend likes cereal. I like yogurt. Protein drinks, you don't even have to refrigerate. And then some kind of a lunch, like a sandwich or a wrap, which we would pack and take with us into Rocky Mountain National Park. You can do that when you travel to other places too, because again, you check, but most places now have refrigerators. And here's another deep, dark secret, that they have extra refrigerators. And so if for some reason your room doesn't have a refrigerator, oftentimes you can call ahead of time and ask that a refrigerator be placed in your hotel room, and they will. So that's kind of nice as well. So that's another way that you can travel. Sometimes I actually even packed food. So I had my suitcase and I just had like my tortillas. I had some peanut butter and jelly. It's not the greatest protein in the world, but it worked just fine. And it allowed me to eat their, whatever it is I did, packed nuts, that kind of thing. So the other part of it is that if you're also eating out, let's go back to the restaurant scenario, and maybe you can't. So you decide what you're gonna order ahead of time. You try to go with lean proteins and that. The one big trap that you have to worry about is when you're looking for food is check the sauces. The sauces are really where a lot of the extra calories or extra fat go, sugar too. So I remember when I first met my trainer way back when I lost weight, I went to a restaurant and I said, I went to this, I think it was a Korean restaurant. And I said, I had this beef broccoli and it was amazing. And I want to learn how to make it because it's just beef and broccoli. And it was so good. And she said, beef broccoli has a lot of sugar in the sauce. And I'm like, is that why it was so good? So that's one of the things that you have to kind of keep your eye on. Sauces, condiments. Ask them if they wouldn't mind putting it to the side. And then if they put it to the side, then you can decide how much you can actually put on there, that kind of thing. Some things that you might want to take into consideration is the bread basket. They always come out with this bread basket. You can ask your server not to bring it. Or if, your friend, let's say you're out there with your friend, could you bring my friend here 2 pieces of bread from the bread basket, but please don't bring the whole basket here. Or the other thing is that I like to do, because I usually traveled with a coworker, is that I would split a meal with my coworker. After a while, my coworkers started seeing that I was eating healthy when I was traveling, and then we would sort of figure something we both liked, and then we would just split the meal, because sometimes, you don't want to bring it back to your hotel room, then your hotel room smells like beef broccoli. So, that can kind of be. The other thing to keep in mind, too, that a lot of people will go to is our salads. And so, again, keep in mind that if you are going to get a salad, that you put the dressing to the side. They will do that. They will do that on hamburgers. They will do that with steak. Just say, I would like that sauce to be on the side so you can control how much you're eating there. And the other part of it, too, is that if you want, you can, this gets a little bit too much for people, is they can ask the chef to come out and explain what is in this dish. So let's say you're going to get some kind of a stir fry. And so you ask the chef, what could you come out and tell us what is in this dish? And they will often do that. And I've not done that myself, but my coworkers have done that because they had food allergies and they wanted to know exactly what it is. Like I said, part of it is now when I go out to eat, when I don't have much of a choice, is there have been times where I have just asked the server to bring out the doggy bag container right now. And immediately I would cut the meal in half, put it half into the take-home container, and then eat the other half. It works, believe it or not, because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And now when you have this half meal, it's very easy now to limit how much you're going to eat. You're still enjoying the very meal that you wanted to eat, but you have now put half of it away. I actually saw one person told me that she saw someone once take the top off of a salt shaker, cut her meal in half, and then pour the whole salt shaker on the other half of the meal so she wasn't tempted to eat the other half of the meal. So that's something else that you could do too. Some other things that if you're looking, and you've probably heard this before because most of us have been dieting our whole stupid lives. And so is, getting grilled instead of fried, getting lean protein instead of like a fatty protein. I've been making flank steaks lately. So you could get these, what they call flank steaks, and I've been chopping them up in smaller bits. I always loved ribeye steaks, but it was that saturated fat, the really fatty steaks, that was spiking my blood sugar. And so I went to flank steaks, and you know what? I enjoyed the steaks. It was less fat, and it didn't spike my blood sugar. So sometimes, even if you want to get beef or something else, you can get a different kind of section of beef that is a little bit less fatty. And so bringing, cutting the meals in half, ordering a different cut of meat, that kind of thing can make you just enjoy your meal a little bit better without having any regrets. And I don't know about you, but when I go out to eat, I feel full about, there's 2 things going on. Is first of all, when you first bite into your meal, you're like, oh yeah, that's really good. But then after a while, you start talking with your friend and you're eating and you don't even notice what you're eating anymore. So making sure you eat slowly, but also making sure that you enjoy every bite. But what happens is then we eat too much, and then somewhere in that meal, we start feeling really sick. And have you ever walked out of a restaurant and you go, oh, I just can't eat anymore. And that has been, by eating more slowly and paying more attention to what you're eating, then you'll be able to not get to that point where you feel so sick that you actually enjoyed your meal, You stopped eating when you were supposed to. And so just keep checking in with yourself. Am I still hungry, or am I just eating because it's on the plate, or because I'm chatting with my friends? That kind of thing. And like I said, if you're out there watching this along with me, put some suggestions in the chat channel if you had some comments about it. So, like I said, the idea is that we're trying to not destroy our fun, but we're trying to just throttle ourselves a little bit so that we don't feel sick when we're done, that we don't put on a lot of weight when we're done, and, just overdo it. Right now, like I said, after being with this dose that has not worked with me for a few months, I joked last week about how my stomach has shrunk. Stomachs, I guess, don't really shrink that way or that much, but I can't eat what I did. So when I went to that farm to food table place last weekend, because this drug's no longer working on me, I had my half sandwich and soup. And it's so funny how sometimes restaurants don't understand the idea of diet. So I ordered the half sandwich and the soup, and when I picked up my meal, it was a full sandwich and soup. And I said, I was really looking for the half sandwich. And he goes, well, we can't take it back now. We won't charge you for it. And I'm like, it's not about the money. I'm trying to diet. So then I went and I had an ice cream cone. And I asked her, I said, could you put the smallest amount of ice cream? Because I just want to taste the ice cream. Right? You just want a little ice cream. And I just had a big meal. And I said, could you put the smallest scoop possible in that cone for me, or the bowl for me? And she grabs a huge scoop of it. And I said, oh, no. Like maybe a third of that. I just want to taste it because I'm going to end up throwing it out, and I don't want to throw out your lovely ice cream. So sometimes restaurant people don't get, you really mean, I just want a little. So they're happy to, they're trying to be good service people and show you a good time and show you a good food. But if you tell them, you're really serious, I just want a really tiny little scoop, they'll do it for you that way too. And like I said, I think keep in mind what my friend said too. I think my goal in all of this is I'm going to return things to treats again. That, like I said, when I was growing up, pizza was the thing you ate before the Super Bowl, right? Or ice cream was something you had on that super hot day in July at the picnic. And I think my goal in all of this is I'm going to return everything to where it's at. We've gotten very used to it. Me too, where you just go out to eat every week. Or I saw people at my job, they went out to lunch every lunch. And, they were like, well, Jill, do you want to come along? And I thought, well, let me give you a different example about that. So I used to date this guy, and he complained a lot about how much I weighed too much, and that's not great, right? But at one point, I said to him, I said, you're not happy that I'm overweight. We're both broke. Why are we going out to eat this much? I want to lose weight. You want to save money. Let's stop going out to eat. It was his favorite thing to do, and yet he complained about both of the side effects of it. Maybe what we do is we return going out to eat back into treat level again. That we don't do it every day, or every day we forgot to bring lunch to the office, or for this celebration or that celebration, we find other ways of celebrating. So I hope that gives you some ideas. But if you can't and you have to go to restaurants, here's some ideas. Hopefully that will help you with this. Again, I really got very good at eating while I was traveling on the for work. But then when I always did have to go eat because I had customers, right? So I'm going out to this hospital. I have customers. They want to take you out. I did have many meals I still had to eat out. So I started learning better ways to eat while I still could have this social event with them. So they didn't feel like I was weird and just staring at them, watching them eat. I was eating along with them, but I was kind of keeping it on the down low and not so abrupt. So if anyone has any comments or questions or things that you're doing that have worked for you, I'd love to hear about it. Is there anything that you do that helps you when doing that? And I have comments that are right over here. So anyone have any comments or ideas or anything like that when it comes to going out to eat or saving yourself? Or do you have questions? Or do you want to fight me about it and say, no, I love to go out and eat? Like I said, if you're doing this as a treat and it's only happening once in a while, you're not going to kill your diet by going out and eating and having a great time. You kill your diet by what you do every other points of time, right? Not just the one time, but it's like I always joke, it's not what you do from Thanksgiving to Christmas that kills your diet. It's what you do from Christmas to Thanksgiving. It's the same thing here. You are not killing your diet by going out to eat once in a while and having a good time, but did you turn it into more than just a treat? Is it daily? Are you doing it all the time? And one last thing to keep in mind about this is when I did go to my farm to table restaurant, I still had a bad 2 days after I went out to eat. And it wasn't because of the meal and it wasn't because of the calories, but it was because of the salt. When you go out to eat, most meals have a lot more salt to them. You will retain water. You will, for a couple days. I always sort of see it not happen the next day, but the day after that, my weight's blotto. And then I drink water and have normal meals and it goes back down again. So any other comments out there? I appreciate all of you who are watching. All right. Well, we got a couple people who are doing okay, and they say that that is the good advice. And like I said, I think you have to see what works for you. You know, I didn't mention this before, but the other thing that you can keep in mind is that potentially you could pick better restaurants with you and your friends. So if you and your friends always go to the kind of the greasy hamburger place, and you end up feeling sick, and there's nothing really there for you, negotiate with your friends and say, you know, I know you love going here. Let's go here once. But, you know, if the other times we could go to this other restaurant because this other restaurant has more available to me that I could probably eat and enjoy as well. I think most of your friends want you to have a good time just like they're having a good time. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all being out there. Please remember that you can email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. Please leave comments in the channel. Tell me your favorite tips to eating out and what you do when you're trying to still eat healthy but have fun with your friends. Thanks so much. Have a great day.